I would like to initiate a project in our space of innovation in ophthalmology and have the 50-50, as was now in the municipal elections. I think it would be a successful model even for this space. So hi everyone, I'm Daria, I'm the CEO and co-founder of Belkin Vision, and today I'm the moderator of the investors panel. Hello guys. So I would like to ask each one of you first to introduce yourself, and then also to tell us whether you have any investment in ophthalmic companies in Israel. Okay, so this will be the first question for you. Or,
Thank you, Daria, and thanks for those who still are remaining in the room. And I know it's late, so we'll try to keep this session short and informative. My name is Limin. I'm representing Remonsi Capital. We are not a very big fund, but we have laser focus in vision science, ophthalmology, and optometry. We are active since 2016. We made about 10 investments in Israel, only in this sector. So we probably know and followed most of the presenting company in this conference. And we do very hands-on approach for good or for bad. Since Daria knows, since 2021.
For good, Limin.
Since 2021, we also made 2 acquisitions in intraocular lens and the specialty lens company. So we built our own business platform with a strong team operating in both Israel and in China. We support our companies to go to Asia market and grow with them together. So since inception, actually, we have Israel in mind. Our name, Remonsi, comes from Hebrew, Rimon, which means pomegranate is a symbol of fruitfulness in both in Israel and in Chinese culture. So, yeah, that's all.
Thank you.
Hello, everybody. First of all, I have to say that when you're speaking about hands-on experience and bringing value add, 100%. We have a company together. We actually had 2. One we sold and one is still working, and the contribution that you guys are bringing is superb. So thank you. It's an opportunity to thank you. So my name is Michal Geva, and I'm a managing partner of Tri Ventures, which is a fund focused on, actually we started with a big focus on medical devices, then we expanded to digital health. Today we're very active in everything between health and tech. And we're investing usually in early stage, but not seed and company formation anymore, but things with a little bit of more traction in terms of understanding what the product is doing and have some validation. And if it is in digital health, also understanding of the market and market validation. We do have several investments in ophthalmology. We started with the medical devices, and ION is one of our investments. And then we had 6/6, which was transition that kind of tells our story of the movement to digital health. And then we are also invested in Glasses USA, which is between health and tech. It's an e-commerce platform that sells prescription glasses online. It's a big company today, sells about $200 million worth of eyeglasses. And although it's called Glasses USA, it's an Israeli company. So that's what we do.
So I will be very brief because you all know me already. And this is the end of the 2 days conference that I was the chairman. So I'm the CEO of BioLight. We invest solely in ophthalmology. We have 9 portfolio companies. You heard many of them here during the day, starting from the Agnosteer, Sanocolis, Tarsier, Belkin, Ofarex, and so we have a very interesting portfolio in all stages in ophthalmology. We believe in ophthalmology. This is the area that we are dedicated for, and I know that it's one of the other questions, but I want to save time and to say that the focus in ophthalmology is because we believe that in Israel, for a small fund, it's hard to be a generalist, and you have to focus. So ophthalmology is fast growing, a lot of M&A deals in this space. And we believe that this is a space that we can understand the entire system, from diagnostics, for drugs, devices. We have great advisors. You heard Ronnie Neumann, our CMO, as well. We have, we are a small fund, publicly traded, unfortunately, but we are working on this as well. But so we are focusing on ophthalmology because we think it's the right space to focus, and a lot of great innovation coming from Israel, and you heard a lot of it here.
Hi, that's the edge. My name is Asaf Barnea. I'm running Sanara. We have been doing a transition. Some of you may recognize the name as Sanara Ventures, which is an incubator VC, a joint venture of Philips and Teva, investing in digital health, medical devices, and bioconvergence technologies. And that's the relationship that we have to ophthalmology with a company called Nanodrops. As of 2 years ago, we set up a post-incubation fund called Sanara Capital, which we do between $1 to $4 million investments in so-called post-incubation companies, either from Sanara, but not just. So we did 6 investments to date, 3 that came from Sanara, from the incubator, and 3 which are external, so Israeli-related companies. Aside from that, I'm running the chairmanship kind of position in the Export Institute for the life science activity in the Export Institute. On that behalf, you know, we have some sectors, some verticals in Israel which are not yet, I would say, did not get their PR properly. Like we do have within the Export Institute, like a sector referring to dental, for that matter. And as of 6 months ago, I think I heard for the first time there's a WhatsApp group for the ophthalmology space, and about 65 companies out of Israel that are active in that space. You guys probably know the number, right? So, but that should be supported. So Yael here from the Ministry of Economy and the other commercial attachés, this is something that we should take maybe from this conference going forward, as to set up more visibility to that specific vertical, to that specific industry. Let it be through the Export Institute, or let it be through the commercial attachés. But since there's a cumulative number of companies, more than I expected, I have to say dozens and dozens of those, and maybe even more, it should get more exposure within the government operation or other commercial business-related operation. Aside from that, about myself, I've been also a consultant to the World Bank, to the venture capital team of the World Bank in Washington, and I was a medical entrepreneur for a few years, so that's a bit of, and a basketball player, yes.
Toda. So my next question is actually to make it easier for you. Because I guess you don't want like all those 65 ophthalmology companies to approach you. And maybe you can give us an update about your plans for 2024. Are you planning to invest more in ophthalmic companies? If no, so it's a pity. But if yes, so what are you focusing on? And maybe to give some guidance to those companies here, who should approach and who shouldn't. So we'll start with Michal, bevakasha.
Okay. So I don't know if we're going to invest in ophthalmology. We love this space, and we are looking actively to invest in additional companies. Is it going to be in ophthalmology? I don't know. Okay. Just like probably average, a VC sees about 800 companies a year, and an average VC invests in 2 or 3 companies a year. That's more or less the average, which means that all of you guys that are getting no's, it's not personal. I could tell you though that what we're looking for, and you know, a lot of people know us from the early days of Tri Ventures, where we were really building companies from ground zero and investing in very, very early stages. So we stopped doing that. We today are focused on things that have a little bit more meat, as I said before. In terms of stage, if it's a medical device, it probably has to be around FDA approval and much, much closer to the market, and where we could see and understand what kind of market penetration a company like that. So we're a little bit more, became a little bit more later in the game. If it is in the digital health space, we could probably go a little bit earlier, but we do focus most of our effort not only on how it's going to help patients and how it's going to help doctors, which is critical for the success of the company. But in my opinion, at least in the digital health space, probably 90% of the companies will not succeed, not because they're not helping the patient or the doctor, because they do not have a validated, a good business model. So if I were you, and I used to be, before doing a VC, I was on the other side. I know how it is to be on the startup side. That's where I grew up in. But I would focus my effort on trying to figure out a business model, okay?
Michal, just in order to save time, I would like, if you can tell us, your main focus in the past, or maybe even in the present, was cardio. And at some point you decided to expand also to ophthalmology. Are there any differences between these two spaces or disciplines? Or are they just alike?
So I would say first, you're right. We did a lot of cardiology or cardiovascular investments because both, you know, my two partners as well as myself grew up in this space. And over time, we expanded our wings. I think there is a lot of correlation, I would say, between medical devices because the stages are pretty the same. You have to go through same stages. You have to climb and pass same type of mountains, right? You have to go through clinical, and you have to go through the regulatory approval, and each one is a mountain, right? And then you have to get the reimbursement, and once you do that, it's you have to get your feet wet and get into the market. So I would say that within the medical devices, those are different people, different buyers, different strategic, different key opinion leaders, different a lot, but the stages and the process, the MO is pretty the same. Where I would say in digital health, it's a completely different game.
Okay, תודה. Yaakov, again for 2024, and also I would like to link it to the next question. You, most of the years, you were in tech transfer, which is totally different than what you're doing today, because today you are focusing on one specific discipline, ophthalmology, whilst in the past it was a very diverse fields or companies. What do you like most, or and what do you think is better?
So because it's late and I want to tease Michal a little bit, and so it will be interesting. And I will start with a teaser that I don't believe that anyone can look at 800 companies. Sorry, Michal. But so this is why we are focusing only on ophthalmology. I'm not saying that it's too hard for us because we are small. So we are focusing on ophthalmology and we enjoy it. So, yes, I was the CEO of the largest tech transfer company in Israel. I saw a lot of innovation coming from academia, from the Hebrew University, from the hospitals. During my time, we created about 60 startups. I created there a VC investing in biotech called Integra. I created there a VC investing in agriculture. It was a fascinating time. But here is the difference. After I left ISU, I went to run a real operating company called Brainsway in the brain area. I created the marketing and sales team in the US, and I saw how it looks when you really sell products in the US, the main market, after FDA approvals. And it was a great school for me to understand how the innovation looks at the beginning, and how and I think I took them public on the NASDAQ, so I had the whole way of experience. And what I'm doing now in BioLite is a combination. This is where I'm getting to what Michal said, because when an entrepreneur comes to us, with the shining eyes and says, okay, this is what I want to do, this is what I am going to do in the next 2 years, I tell her or him, okay, leave the animal study and everything. Tell me what is the TPP of your product? If all your dreams come true, how will the final product look like? 95% of the opportunities, they don't know how to answer. They start to say, yeah, blah, 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 and it's not relevant because they have to convince at the first stage why the doctors, the final clients, will actually buy it and will they pay it and to understand the competition. Then we can go back and see what is the way there. And unfortunately, we see it a lot, that people are investing a lot of money, a lot of years, getting the FDA approval, but then nothing happens. And I always say that, unfortunately, some companies fail after the FDA approval in their valuation because they don't manage to actually sell enough of the product unless they do a strategic deal. So we tackle it in BioLine. We do have the model of the build to partner. We have very good companies. The Agnostier that you saw here is a build to partner. We are the sole investor. We invested $10 million building the company. We will have FDA approval and we are building it to the market. We are starting with a scientific board of doctors, and we had this last week. It was our final meeting in our former address. We asked the doctors, if you have this product, will you buy it? And it was a very blunt discussion. And if they say yes, yes. If not, we are not continuing. So this was an example. And another example, one of the last presentation, Itzi showed here Peripherex. Peripherex, it's a build to partner. We are the sole investors. We took them to FDA approval. We are launching them now in the US, launching the product in the US. We didn't invest too much money there, but it's an exciting opportunity, and we are already now speaking with some strategics, and it looks good. So the bottom line to your question, hopefully in 2024, we will invest in another company, but we are putting most of our money to expand the current activities of our current portfolio companies like Peripherex, like Diagnostier. We want them to get to the stage of the build to partner, and this is our goals for 2024.
So just maybe a key takeaway from what you were saying is that when companies approach, I think each one of you or any other venture capital, you have to come like with a final solution for the commercialization. It's not enough to come with a science, it's not enough to come with a device, you need to show the business model. Will it work?
I just want to say a joke, okay? When I was in the Hebrew University and then I passed it to Michal, the researcher always told me, we solved all the cancer problems in mice.
We don't need to see the full solution. And there is no company that starts from point one and finishes with the same kind of path, or there's zigzag. That's the way, that is the beauty of what we are all doing, right? But there needs to be an understanding. There needs to be a detailed thinking process. It's not enough today to just do the science. And we love it because many of us are scientists and many of us are engineers, and all we want is to build the toys or to build the algorithm, right? And it's amazing, and definitely we will need to get to that stage. But when I'm meeting early stage entrepreneurs, I'm telling them, listen, you are amazing. I'm sure you're going to do that. But let's assume you've done it, like you said, right? Let's assume you've done it. What are we going to do with that after all this is done? And they need to have answers about the thinking process. They need to have answers about the methodologic how to do it, to ask themselves those questions, not necessarily to have all the answers and the reimbursement code and how they're going to get, I don't know, okay?
Yeah. Good, so Asaf, now to you.
Just to add to that comment, if I may. Just I'm suffering from an inferiority complex in that sense. Honestly, I think that when we stumble as VCs into companies, in some cases, us as Israelis, we pretend to some extent. In some cases we don't, but to some extent, most of the entrepreneurs and us, even VCs, to a certain extent, we don't know it all. and the product market fit that we have in Israel is always in a stressful situation whereby, so many companies, and Michal just stated before, in terms of the business model is so crucial in digital health for sure, but also in devices and others. There's a true gap in the understanding of, and I'm making a generalization for that matter, including about us in Sanara, as to really the ability not just to execute and to have those statements and to have a saleable product which is sustainable. Sometimes I'm saying it's like a Superman, the 3 S's: scalable, sustainable, and saleable to start with. But the product market fit, the true understanding, the validation. Some companies come out to us with kind of an outline of something which pretends to be a business model which was not validated. There's no product market fit. Where's the reimbursement comes in? What's the timeline for that? The execution part is okay. But this is where, for instance, in Sanara we built, and sometimes I'm being teased by that by colleagues and friends. We've built in Sanara 120 person advisory board for Sanara, not for the portfolio companies. And sometimes people tease me and say, Hassaf, how do you manage 120 people? And maybe it's not the best, but at least we have access to expertise in Parkinson or in neurology or whatever, cardiovascular, whatever it may be. But those are vehicles, mechanisms, organs that we all should be building, not just advisory board, but rather knowledge-sharing platforms, and really dive into those more deeply. So in order for us to invest, really make sure that the product market fit and the business model which is related to that is truly validated to the extent that we will feel comfortable to that extent to invest. What's the fundable milestone for some of the companies? In some cases, would be a validated business model, not necessarily seeing the product to the final product, not necessarily a full understanding of, of the distribution agreement, whatever, but rather something which was validated externally, not in the Israeli capacity or the Israeli market for that, for sure.
Thank you. Limin? So the question to you, Limin, again, is whether you do plan to make some more investments in Israel in 2024, and also to you as a foreign investor, the only foreign investor in this panel, how is the situation in Israel? And it's not the first time that there are, it's not stable. How has this affected your affections to investments in Israel?
It is a hard question, and frankly speaking, the current situation impacts us significantly. And as a fund, we are deploying, but unfortunately not in the near term in Israel. Because actually in last year, we closed a deal, and because of overseas direct investment policy from China, and we cannot still, we have challenging to transfer the fund to Israel. So this is a tough situation. So we actually are looking into US and Europe. There's some in pipeline. But I personally, I'm living in Israel for long term. So I hope that the current situation is going to resolve, and we can get back to the previous norm. And as a fund, we're still supporting our existing portfolio companies, but I think it's going to take some time for us to look into the new investment in Israel. Okay. Yeah.
Thanks for the sincerity. Good. Any of you would like to add something to our audience?
Just looking on a larger perspective, we just announced today the IATI. We are the organizers. I'm heading the life sciences in the IATI, which is the umbrella organization of the high-tech and the biotech companies. So today we announced the report for what is going on in Israel in terms of investments. So there was a drop in the investment in 2023 in Israel compared to 2022, but it wasn't different than what the drop in the US. So people are talking about the drop in investment in Israel, but it was quite similar to what is happening in the US. The entire healthcare, and we had two bankers, and we had a very nice presentation yesterday. So all the market in the healthcare suffered, by the way, especially in digital health. And this is the situation in the markets. 2024 started better. I can tell you that Israeli companies raised in 2023 more than $400 million on the NASDAQ. More than $1 billion were invested in Israeli private health tech companies in 2023 by foreign investors. It means that regardless of the situation in Israel, and we are having our challenges, the money keeps coming, the investors believe in us. We have a lot of interest from strategic investors and partners. So I think that 2024, hopefully we will finish with the war, and it will be hopefully finished in the good way for us. And I hope that everything will start to flourish again, and we will go up in the investment. And I think the ophthalmic space, the reason that we are having this with the great steering committee here, and by the way, apart from the people still in the audience here, we have a lot of people logged in now in the event tax system, and the OIS users can see us. So I think that the 65 companies that we mentioned, this is the future, and I think that we'll have to see more and more companies coming in. The Israeli government is supporting the companies, injecting money to health tech companies, 400 million shekels. Now the plan is to inject in 2024, and they will be encouraging institutional investors to invest. So for all outside of Israel that are listening to us, every dollar that is coming will be leveraged either by Israeli investors or the government. So this is a great time and opportunity for investors to invest in Israeli companies in general, and specifically in ophthalmology. So sometimes it's good to use the opportunity in challenging time and to do the investments.
Thank you, Yaakov. That's
May I
very...
add something?
Yeah, I would just add that we are waiting for the policy to see the change. So we are still following up with companies to see the development. So we are still looking very closely, although we may not make immediate investment in the near term, in the near future, but I think we'll wait for the time to come.
Thank you, Limin, and I know how supportive you are of your portfolio companies. Please, Asaf.
Yeah, one of the things, and this is so important in terms of, I would say, probably the next year and a half, which we expect that it's not going to be easy for all of us, not just in ophthalmology. And one of the things that we believe in Sanara is, by the way, really because, you know, VCs or other financial investors may see it as a tough time to invest now in Israel, but strategics are always there. To some extent, they're always there. This is what we did with Nanodrops, our company. We also brought an investor, the ophthalmology company that we have. We brought a strategic, we co-invested with them, and we did it with some other of our companies. It may take longer than expected. I mean, people know that, you know, it may take a year to finalize investment, so it may take. But one of the initiatives that we now trying to push is both from the Export Institute as well as from the Innovation Authority and as well as from the Ministry of Economy, is to try and look for strategic investors the second and third tier. So not necessarily those who are active in Israel, the Pfizer, the Johnson & Johnson, the Medtronics, they have their set up organization here in Israel. But what we are trying to do now, it's a project that we're trying to approach strategic on the second and third tier. For instance, imagine if, and we are now looking into, you know, the German market or the US market. Some of those are friendly markets to Israel, not necessarily trying to build something from scratch, which may take longer. But some of those who are friendly and understand the situation, and imagine if we can bring 60, 80 companies to a conference in Berlin, or to a conference, then again, not necessarily from ophthalmology space, but identifying, and something that we're trying to do now with the commercial attachés in some of those areas, a list of strategic investors, $1 billion company, not a $60 billion company like Medtronic, and set up within the next 4, 5, 6 months a conference whereby dozens of accumulated number, a critical mass of companies with amazing technologies coming into either Berlin, London, or in the US for that matter, and approach those second and third tier, which, you know, may have come every now and then, used to come to Israel every now and then, every 3 or 4 years, sending a delegation, a representative. But this is one of the things, initiatives, to try and be creative and approach not necessarily the old kind of historical investors that we know, but rather to look different sideways to other which may be more willing to invest and may be exposed for the first time to disruptive technologies out of Israel and attract them to invest in Israel. So just an example of trying to be creative among us within the ecosystem, with the Innovation Authority, with the Israeli Export Institute.
Toda. Thank you, Asaf and Michal.
Just last comment, you know, we're sitting here and giving advice, but I want to remind you all the entrepreneurs and the people that are working in the startups, you are the real heroes. Without you, all this ecosystem would not exist. We're here. Yes, you can't do it without capital, but we are part of your puzzle. And I know we all decided to go on a long path. It is not an easy mission. It's not easy to cure a disease, right? It's not easy to come up with a new technology out of the thin air. Many times it's ups, and many times it's down. Maybe as a nation, we are a little bit hit from different directions in the last year. But those are also opportunities. I think that we've seen the Jewish community around the world, you know, working with us, not only around the war. At the beginning, there was a lot of donations for activities around the war zones. But I could tell you that there are a lot of initiatives now to bring back investors, Jewish and non-Jewish investors. And there is no better place to invest than in Israel. And if in Israel, in things that are really impacting a greater world. And there is no better industry than what we're doing and talking about in this room. So opportunities sometimes are hard. Sometimes it's hard to find those investors, but they are, and they are coming, and we're all creative. And I think together with all the initiatives that are putting up together, we'll see more and more capital coming to this industry in the near future. So good luck.
Toda rabba. Thank you very much to the panel for an interesting discussion. Toda. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for the audience.